Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lysha from Lysha Be Creative, and today's tutorial is another snow globe tutorial. I haven't done one in a while, and I got this amazing pack from Maestra Creations that is all watermelon themed, and so I thought it would be super cute to put together this watermelon themed snow globe tumbler just in time for summer. So of course everything I use will be listed and linked down in the description box, as well as any discount codes that I have for you to save a little bit of extra money. So let's go ahead and jump right into today's tutorial. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So I have a 24-ounce Starbucks tumbler, the double-walled acrylic that you can purchase right from Starbucks. I picked up a couple of these for just some fun to do with a few snow globe tumblers. I did a live recently in a mentorship group, and I had a lot of fun, and so I'm really getting back into doing these more often, and I absolutely love this style tumbler. You definitely can find a lot of dupes, so you don't have to spend the amount of money you do for the actual Starbucks ones, and I'll link a couple of those down in the description. I've also found a couple of good alternatives on Amazon. So I'm taking my drill and a drill bit. I will link the drill that I use as well as the size drill bit that I do use down in the description box, and I'm drilling holes straight down into the bottom. So if you've watched my previous snow globe tutorial, you know that you've seen me do this before, but you can just drill right through the bottom, being very careful that you don't drill through the second layer of acrylic, and then I'll use usually a Cricut weeding tool just to get out any of those little pieces of plastic that I've kind of dropped down into the other piece of my tumbler. So I am going to drill 2 holes in my cup just to make sure that I have enough airflow. So now, of course, my favorite part, we're going to be adding some glitter. So these are 2 of the glitters from the Maestra Creations glitter subscription Glynal box that I got from her for this past month, for the month of May. And so I'm using Watermelon Felon, which is the chunky pink I'm using right now. And then I'm also using Vacay, which is the lighter pink that came in that bundle. All of these supplies that I'm using today are mostly from Maestra Creations with the exception of the rhinestones that I use, and they are currently available on her site if she's not already sold out of those. So just as I've done before, I'm going to be putting the glitter inside of the tumbler and filling it up probably about 1/3 of the way up to make sure I have enough glitter to really flow through. This is something that I've picked up along the way. I saw someone do this in a group where they added just a piece of masking tape around the bottom edge of the tumbler, and that's going to help keep all your glitter contained and not spilling all over the place. This is definitely something that I struggled with before when it came to doing these snow globe tumblers, because I literally would end up with glitter all over my workspace, which is not completely unlike me, but this definitely helps keep everything completely contained, and you're able to kind of bend your tumbler or lean it to either side a little bit farther than you can if you don't have the tape. So I'm going to continue to putting an entire medicine cup full of the Watermelon Felon down into the cup, and once I think I've gotten all of that done, now I'm going to switch over to Vacay. So Vacay is kind of an irregular cut glitter. It's absolutely gorgeous. I can't actually wait to get this on an actual tumbler as a glitter base because I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It is a beautiful light pink color, and I'm going to add another medicine cup full of the Vacay glitter down into my tumbler. So there's a couple things that I've seen since the last time I've done a snow globe tutorial, and the most recent thing that I've seen as far as a hack goes is using like a massage gun to help get the glitter in. So instead of tapping it and shaking it as I'm doing now, which is just sort of my preferred way, people have gone to using like a hand massager or like a handheld massage gun to get all of the glitter inside of the cup without having to, basically tire out your arms and hands and tap away at the cup to get the glitter to settle. I think it's a pretty fantastic and fun hack. I think it's something that maybe I'll try when I sort of have the opportunity to, when I'm not busy with other custom orders. So I wanted to add just a little bit more of each of the glitter because I didn't fill it all the way up to the top of the medicine cup as I normally do. So after I had kind of, looked at what was in the cup already, I decided to go back in and add just a little bit more of each of those. So as soon as I am done with that, adding the last bit of glitter here, I am just going to take off the tape and I will begin to clean off the bottom so that we can fill this up with our solution. All right, so tape is off and the bottom is cleaned off, and now we're going to put in our solution. So I am using a 50-50 solution of distilled water as well as a vegetable glycerin. I purchased the vegetable glycerin right off of Amazon. I know you can also get it in, I think, Walmart, but it sells it in a super small container. So I definitely would look at Amazon or potentially other locations to get your vegetable glycerin. There are also plenty of other alternatives. I've seen clear glue in water. I've seen just clear glue. I've seen baby oil. There are a lot of different sort of fluids and liquids that you can use inside of your snow globe tumbler. For me, I've just always gone with the glycerin in water because it's been what I have felt has worked the best. So I've already begun filling that in a condiment bottle that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. And so I've already kind of filled probably about a third of the way up just over that glitter, and I'm just starting to sort of tap away at the bottom of the cup to get any of the bubbles to release and also to get my glitter to move around. I want to make sure that when I flip this cup upside down that it is filled as high as I can possibly get it filled with minimal bubble, but I also want to make sure I don't have any chunks of glitter stuck at the top rim, unable to kind of float and flow down throughout the snow globe cup. So once I've gotten my glitter kind of moving, I am now just going to fill up the cup as high as I can and kind of tap away again to get some of that air and bubbles to release in between the glitter that's settled at the bottom. And then this will sit for 24 hours. So this is something that I hadn't done previously. I'm going to let this sit for 24 hours for all the air to rise before we seal the bottom. All right, so now that we have everything all ready to go, this is now sat for 24 hours and most of the air, if not all of it, has risen to the top. You always will inevitably end up with a little bit of bubbles in your snow globe tumblers, but obviously the goal is to have the least amount. So letting it sit overnight really does allow all that air that's stuck at the bottom to rise to the top. That way you can fill up the rest of that space with your solution. So I've just gone in with my solution and filled up the rest of that empty space inside the tumbler that I can, leaving a very small bubble in the inside of the snow globe. And now I've cleaned that bottom off with some 91% alcohol, just in case any of the vegetable glycerin has left a slippery surface on the bottom. So I'm going in with UV resin here to seal the holes on the bottom. So there are plenty of different things that you can do when it comes to sealing the holes on the bottom. This is just preferred for me, but you can use things like resin tape. You can use the end of a hot glue gun stick to kind of plug up the holes. I've seen lots of different things that you can use to be able to seal the bottom, and I'll list a couple as well as link a couple from Amazon down in the description box. So with UV resin, what I do is I go around the hole with my UV resin and then directly over top of the hole, creating sort of like a mini dome, if you will, and then I will cure that under my UV lamp to make sure that everything is leak free and that everything is sealed up so that I don't have any issues with my tumbler starting to leak any of that water. So as soon as I have finished curing this for about 60 to 120 seconds under the light, I will then clean off the bottom of the tumbler again, make sure I don't have anything sticky, do a quick check to make sure that I don't have any of the solution leaking from the bottom, and then I'm going to give this entire tumbler a nice quick sort of 91% alcohol bath, making sure that any of the vegetable glycerin that may have been on my hands is not all over the cup, so that we can get into continuing the process of this tumbler. Now that my UV resin is set and the bottom of the tumbler is sealed, we're going to fill up sort of this empty space on the bottom with some fast setting epoxy and a little bit of glitter to really make for a really cute bottom. So I am adding a little bit of vacay over the top of my mixed epoxy. I believe I had about 20, if not 30 mLs of mixed epoxy. I am using Alumilite's Quick Coat, which is their fast setting epoxy, to fill up sort of this emptiness on the bottom of the snow globe cup. So I'm just going to pour my solution down into the bottom, making sure that you are putting your cup on a level surface because you want the bottom to remain level. Nothing would be worse, of course, than having this cure and then having a huge bump or some irregularness of the bottom and then not being able to have sort of a flat bottom and it wobble when someone is using it. So I'm going to just make sure that I'm only putting enough in here to really fill up the bottom section here, but not too much that it sort of domes over. And then I'm going to just take my torch and I'm just going to pop any of those bubbles really quickly just with a couple flashes of my torch. And then I'm going to set this on a level surface and leave this to cure. So I'm going to leave that to cure for about 2 to 4 hours until it is completely sort of set and cured and it isn't going to be moving. Depending on how warm or how cool your environment is will be dependent on the epoxy that you're using and how fast your fast set cures. So now let's go ahead and go on to, of course, adding the cute watermelon decals to this tumbler. So now that my bottom is cured, I just love how this glitter looks in this snow globe. It is absolutely beautiful, but I'm going to be using this semi-transparent vinyl from Maestra Creations. So semi-transparent means that any of that white space that you're seeing is completely clear, but the actual images on the vinyl here are printed with a white backing. So therefore you're getting a very vibrant look to the actual images when you put them on any colored base, which is absolutely awesome. So I'm going to cut these out kind of in sections, a few of them kind of singly, enough that I think I'll need to add to the entire cup here so that we can put all these cute little watermelon popsicles all over this snow globe tumbler. Of course, everything's all cut out, and so now I'm just going to peel these and literally stick them to my cup just like stickers. So I've cut some large sections and some single sections of these watermelon popsicles, and I'm going to apply them all over the cup until I have my entire cup filled with all these watermelon popsicles. And so you certainly could, if you wanted to, wrap the transparent vinyl around your tumbler and then just trim the excess. The only reason I didn't is because I, though, love wrapping vinyl around a tumbler, I'm not so great when it comes to wrapping anything around a tapered sort of style, which is exactly what this is. It's not a straight-sided tumbler with no taper. It does have that taper, so I definitely knew that I would have probably a much harder time than to just cut these out of the vinyl and then hand place them and apply them just like stickers. So I'm going to finish this up and then I'm going to get into adding the final decals to this cup as well as decorating the topper. Before I can apply my additional decals, I gotta take some measurements. So I'm gonna measure the front Starbucks logo decal so I can make sure that the image and logo that I cut out of the vinyl I'm going to be using is going to be the correct size. So this was equivalent to 2.3125 inches, and I'll insert a graphic that I've been using recently, which has been so helpful when it comes to using a measuring tape and knowing what all those tick marks equate to. So super helpful. I'm also going to measure the top because I'm going to also cut a circle piece of vinyl out of or for a circle for the top portion as well. So I'm going to measure that, and that was just over 3 inches. I will put the sizes of both of these pieces down in the description box. And so I'm going to be using this watermelon seed vinyl that was part of the Glynol box from Maestra Creations. So I'm going to take those measurements into Cricut Design Space and get these items cut. So I'm in Cricut Design Space and I've already downloaded a Starbucks logo image. And so I've put that into Cricut, and now I'm just going to change the sizing of this to that 2.3125 sizing so that I have the correct size. I then am going to grab a circle that I'm going to size to what will fit the lid of the tumbler. So that over 3 inch circle that I need for that as well. And I'm also going to be, I'm going to be cutting both the Starbucks logo and the large circle out of the same vinyl. I am, though, going to also cut a circle, which will be the base layer under the Starbucks logo, and that will just be a piece of white vinyl. So I'm going to size a circle that's going to be the exact same size as the top layer of the Starbucks logo so I can layer these. So I'm going to get these finished sizing, and then I'm going to put them into Cricut and get these cut on my watermelon print vinyl and then a piece of white vinyl. Now that my vinyl is cut and I've weeded it, I'm now just going to layer my 2 pieces of vinyl here. So taking that Starbucks logo, and I am just going to adhere that to that white circle so that that shows through any of the removed vinyl off of that top piece of vinyl there. So I'm just going to layer those quickly and get those attached, and then once those are attached, I then can attach this layer over top of the original logo on the cup so that it matches kind of the aesthetic of the cup. So I'm going to do the hinge method just like I would for any other sort of vinyl decal work that I do. So I'm just going to remove the backing and just use kind of the back one edge of that to adhere to one edge of where I want it to be placed, making sure it's as centered as possible, and then removing the backing and smoothing the rest of that decal on. Pretty easy, pretty simple, went on really smoothly. It is slightly crooked, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to remove that, and then of course I'm going to place that watermelon seed vinyl large circle on top of the topper. So just about the same thing here. What I am going to do though with this top is I am just going to give this sort of a quick sand and just kind of prep the top. I did prep the other part of the tumbler usually before I apply vinyl decals, which I don't think I mentioned so far in the tutorial, but I am going to prep this top because we are going to adhere this vinyl, and then of course we're going to be adding some beautiful rhinestones over top of this. So using my piece of transfer tape, I'm going to adhere that circle to the transfer tape, and then I am going to place that directly on top of the lid. Then just using the backing as support, I'm just going to adhere that to one edge of the lid, and again use that same hinge method in order to get the backing off and the circle all the way on, using my squeegee to guide the piece of vinyl on, making sure not to get any bubbles and creases as I apply this vinyl directly to this lid. So we're going to remove the transfer tape, and then I'm going to use my craft knife in order to cut out the vinyl that is covering up the center straw hole. So just taking my craft knife and sticking it directly in the center and cutting around that circle with a sharp craft knife to make sure that I have a place for the straw to go. So now we're going to put this tumbler on the turner for a layer of epoxy, and we're going to work on the lid. So I am using some clear transparent stones as well as some neon green AB stones in order to adhere this to the top. So I already have a layer of my vinyl down. I am going to be using the transparent stones over the top of the vinyl, and then around the edges is where the green stones will go. So I'm using Liquid Fusion as my glue of choice, and I'm going to make this sparkle a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of Diamond Magic to my glue here just to make that layer sparkle. So I'm going to mix that up with a silicone stick, and then I'm going to apply this to the lid and then apply all of my stones. So I have several tutorials on my channel about rhinestoning lids, so definitely make sure to check those out if you're looking for a more in-depth tutorial of rhinestoning the lid. But here's just some little quick action of me doing this part of the topper. So that is the final topper look. So let's look at the final cup all together. As always, today's tutorial was so much fun to put together. I really hope that you enjoyed it. This really is giving me summer vibes and making me look forward to being on the beach somewhere. But if you did enjoy today's tutorial, definitely give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys again soon.